What I learned after a year of deep research into the Eastland disaster by Natalie Zett, copyright 2025. Introduction, from Evidence Explained by Elizabeth Schoen Mills, Analysis and Mindset. As history researchers, we do not speculate. We test, we critically observe and carefully record. Then we weigh the accumulated evidence, analyzing the individual parts as well as the whole without favoring any theory. Bias, ego, ideology, patronage, prejudice, pride, or shame cannot shape our decisions as we appraise our evidence. To do so is to warp reality and deny ourselves the understanding of the past that is, after all, the reason for our labor. Mills, Elizabeth Schoen, Evidence Explained, Citing History Sources from Artifacts to Cyberspace. 4th ed., Genealogical Publishing Company, 2024. Now, you might think it impossible to misplace a capsized ship in the middle of Chicago, much less one that claimed over 800 souls. And yet, here we are. The Eastland disaster of 1915 has given me an unexpected opportunity to dive deep into historical research and uncover stories that have been waiting to be told. Why has the Eastland remained in the shadows? A journey of discovery. What began as research for my podcast and book, Flower in the River, in November 2023, turned into something far more profound. A chance discovery of a 1934 court document, combined with DNA matches on Ancestry.com, opened up an entirely new dimension to my research. When I explored various Eastland disaster-related websites, I faced an unexpected challenge. Where I had hoped to find detailed accounts of victims' lives and stories, I often encountered only the most basic information: names, dates, and occasional occupations. The lack of source citations and comprehensive documentation was particularly concerning from a historical research perspective. Interestingly, one of the most valuable resources proved to be the user-created Eastland Disaster Victims Memorial on Find a Grave. While crowdsourcing historical information has its limitations, this community-driven effort was often more detailed and comprehensive than some traditional sources. It demonstrated the potential power of collective memory and shared historical preservation. This discovery led me to conduct an extensive gap analysis of existing Eastland documentation. The results made it clear that many of these precious historical threads were at risk of being lost to time. The situation called for immediate, thorough research and documentation, a challenge I was ready to take on. This personal connection sparked a passion that would lead me to develop skills I never knew I needed. Skills I hadn't used in years, and skills I never knew I had. From ancient texts to hidden Eastland stories, my background in systematic theology from Luther Seminary, where I studied under brilliant minds like Mary Lane Potter, has proven invaluable in ways I never saw coming. Those hours spent poring over ancient texts, ugly crying through coiny Greek verb conjugations, spoiler alert, I finally got it, and applying historical criticism methods gave me the perfect toolkit for this detective work through history. Elizabeth Schussler Fiorenza's observation that not only is history written by the winners, it is also made by them, has become my guiding principle in uncovering these forgotten stories. Lost in the Titanic's wake. Take the Titanic, for instance, a ship so famous it's practically Hollywood royalty. Some have decided the Eastland needs a celebrity pal to be interesting. That's like pairing a perfectly good Chicago hot dog with caviar. After nearly 100 podcast episodes, I've discovered that while most of the Eastland's passengers weren't society's elite, their stories are pure gold. Tales of immigrant dreams, working-class courage, and human resilience. As a descendant of that tragedy who grew up in a solidly working-class family with strong immigrant roots, I know how it feels when others suggest our stories, heck, our lives, aren't quite refined enough to stand on their own, as if the authentic voices of working people need to be dressed up to be worthy of preservation. Funny thing is, just like a proper Chicago hot dog, these stories are perfect exactly as they are. No caviar required, thank you very much. And I'll admit, after a lifetime of dealing with this sort of thing, I do get hot under the collar. What? You think I'm getting preachy? Well, consider it something of an occupational hazard, what with that theology degree. Righting the ship, reclaiming the stories. Despite the hit-or-miss state of historical housekeeping, all is not lost. But let's be real. This kind of work isn't for the faint of heart or the casually curious. You've got to love history with a passion that borders on obsession. You've got to feel it in your bones, care deeply about getting every detail just right, and embrace the fact that research and fact-checking can sometimes feel about as thrilling as watching paint dry. But for those who do love history, who can see its potential, like a kite catching the perfect gust of wind, this story just needs the right stage to show off its remarkable qualities. We need storytellers who not only know their way around archives and dusty records, but also know how to make history come alive in the digital age. It's about finding creative, tech-savvy ways to share these stories without sending people into a snooze faster than a lecture on 19th century tax codes. Because when history gets the right spotlight, it soars off the page and into our hearts. Historical organizations, setting new standards for integrity. As a journalist, I've had the privilege of interviewing people at various local historical organizations throughout the years, including the Minnesota Historical Society, numerous county historical organizations, and the University of Minnesota. I've always been happy to give these institutions the spotlight because so many are the unsung heroes of historical preservation. That said, there are the others, the organizations that have made headlines for all the wrong reasons. And let me tell you, we're not talking about minor dust-ups over whose turn it was to polish the display cases. In 2021, the former Wheaton Historical Preservation Council found itself on the receiving end of a lawsuit from the Illinois Attorney General. Beyond alleged financial misconduct, there were serious issues with record-keeping and source citation, or rather, the lack thereof. File that under things that make archivists wake up screaming. These contrasting examples highlight why the challenges in historical preservation have brought the critical importance of academic integrity and proper attribution to the forefront. All of us need to remember to create comprehensive citation guidelines that protect both researchers and historical accuracy, develop clear protocols for attributing academic work and protecting intellectual property, partner with institutions like the Newberry Library that demonstrate exemplary standards in historical preservation, establish transparent documentation practices that future researchers can trust and build upon. These experiences have reinforced the vital importance of ethical research practices. By acknowledging these challenges openly, we can work together to create a more reliable and respectful historical research community. From historical gaps to golden opportunities, building a global community. Every week brings new discoveries and challenges that help me grow as a researcher and storyteller. The Eastland story has connected me with people across the globe in ways I never expected. A Lithuanian rock band generously shared their music for my coverage of Chicago's Lithuanian community. Boxing enthusiasts discovered the project through the poignant story of a young boxer whose dreams were cut short on the Eastland. I've even had the privilege of sharing the story of a hero whose rescue efforts earned him a star from coroner Pete Hoffman, a tale shared by his proud granddaughter. These connections have helped me develop skills in digital archive management, graphic design for historical presentation, social media storytelling, database creation and management, community engagement and outreach, historical document preservation techniques, cross-cultural collaboration, the almost last word. The Eastland story isn't just another dusty page in a history book. It's a powerful testament to grit and determination. It's a cautionary tale about why safety regulations are more than just red tape, and a reminder that some of the most important stories are the ones we almost let slip away. Remember, your stories, your history, and your methods of preserving them matter. Platforms like Find a Grave have proven invaluable in showing how community-driven history works, demonstrating that citizen historians don't need to wait for gatekeepers to open the doors. We can make real contributions to historical preservation. These collaborative spaces prove that everyone can play a part in keeping history alive. And here's the exciting part. With today's technology and digital records, everyone can help build a better system for preserving and sharing our collective stories. Easy? Ha. Possible? Heck yeah.